Rips it out. And Robinson using that speed to get to it. He'll send it out in front. He scores! Lucky number 7 for 77. Mark Jankowski, 7th with the Canes, puts them up 1-0. Joe will get to it. Jarvis, though, seals it off. No exit. He'll lay it for Hall. Back for Gossesbear. Oh, one-time he scores! A power play goal for Sebastian Aho. And the Canes have tied this at 3. Aho now to Jarvis. Jarvis, he'll get the shot. He scores! Talk to me, Shorty. Another one for Seth Jarvis. His 5th shorthanded goal of the year. And the Canes go up 4-3.
So exciting. Hi, everyone. It's the Canes Corner podcast, brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanna and his crew do a great job. You should check them out for all of your exterior home improvement needs. AluminumCompany.com. Oh, boy. What a game. My gosh. The head coach will not want to watch the video of this. He didn't like it. Scored a lot of nice goals. Needed them. This was an American Hockey League goaltending duel between Marcus Hogberg and Pyotr Kochetkov. No good. Either way, my gosh, we can recognize the fact that, let's see, with Carolina's goals. The Jankowski goal was great. The Stankoven goal, Hogberg couldn't do anything about. The Aho power play goal, you got to stop that one. The Jarvis shorthanded goal, terrible goal to allow. The Orlov goal, was there a screen? Look, Tyson Jost and Andrei Svechnikov were in the area. I wouldn't call it a screen per se. I'd have to look at it again. I've already looked at it a few times. I'm not sure there was a real screen there, and it hit him. Shouldn't have gone in. Jarvis' goal at the end was really just a good, hard-working goal. Aho and Jarvis combining on that. But that was not good goaltending from their side, and it certainly wasn't good goaltending from the Hurricanes' side. Kochetkov should not have allowed either of the first 3 goals. Engvall's first goal went right through him. Palmieri's power play goal, it's a bad rebound, and then it almost looked like Kochetkov was hiding from the rest of the play. He sunk so deep into his net. The second Engvall goal that made it 3-2 early in the second period, he was drifting from left to right, and he made himself so small. It was a game that I talked about with Trip Tracy going in, where it was a big game for Kochetkov for a lot of reasons. And frankly, while I will give him credit for rallying and being good enough the rest of the way, it was not good. It was not a good game for Pyotr Kochetkov. We got a lot to do. All right, so we'll go through. Well, we've already sort of mentioned the goals, but we'll talk about goaltending. We'll talk about the blue line. We'll talk about the top line and the fourth line, and also a switch that was made in the start of the third period. I'd have to go back and actually dig into when the switch was made. I don't believe the broadcast talked about it. Maybe they did. I didn't catch it, but I noticed it sometime in the third period, but we'll get to that. First of all, a couple of shout outs. Let's go. Huntington, West Virginia. Hello. Going back to my days, producing the Larry King radio show. Montreal. Hi. What up, Montreal? Big Jackson Blake fan. Don't offer sheet him. Callie Kaniacs checking in. Momeyer, North Carolina, checking in. Don't know where that is, but it sounds lovely. Adelaide Hills, Mikhailev. What up? Mukilteo, Washington. I have no idea if I said that right or not. Shouts to you in the Pacific Northwest and Bluefield, West Virginia, among other places, checking in. We'll try to go back and find some others as well. All right. Let's get to the main story for me tonight. And I talked to Trip Tracy about this at the very beginning, was I felt like tonight was obviously, you want to get to the place where you clinch a playoff spot first. Then you want to get to a spot where you can wrap up home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs. Hurricanes, in spite of the fact that they have 2 games left with Washington, would have to win both of those in regulation and then get a whole bunch of help. So they're not going to catch the Capitals. You can make it interesting, but you're not going to catch the Capitals, and it's not worth, busting your hump to do it. But you do want A, to clinch a playoff spot, and then B, to wrap up your home ice in the second round. And, to be honest, if you can stay ahead of Toronto, Florida, Tampa, and right now the Hurricanes are, then you stand a chance. You could end up with home ice in the Eastern Conference Finals if it gets down to that. Frankly, getting to the conference finals would be an awesome result for the Hurricanes this year. Real quick, before we get into the main issue for me tonight, is that every once in a while, I like to remind everybody that this was not supposed to be a vintage Hurricanes year. What it has turned out to be is a pretty good team that has figured out a lot of different ways to win, has done so without a great power play, to put it mildly, has done it without Sebastian Aho having a great offensive year, has done it without any real contribution. This is no joke from Andrei Svechnikov. I've gotten really very little from number 37 this year. Traded away your most productive offensive player in the Rantanen trade. And somehow on the back end of that, have gotten better as a team. Now, Drury and Necas combined, probably better than Jankowski, Hall, Stankoven, if we're honest. Maybe not significant. Obviously, with Jack, you get a defensive center and a good faceoff guy who is still the faceoff leader for the Hurricanes. Necas, of course, for 6 weeks was hotter than fish grease. Thank you very much, Mark Jones. But then you try to make the trade for Rantanen. It doesn't work out, and you somehow turn that around and you get better. Part of that is Taylor Hall really kicking into high gear. The other part of that is Jankowski and Stankoven fitting what Carolina wants to do. So, again, I'm not going to dive, headlong into that, but it's really remarkable that we got here the way we got here, and the Hurricanes are going to have another 100-point season, 9 games left to play, 94 points, 9 clear of the Devils for second place in the division, 9 short of Washington, of course, but the Capitals are probably going to have like a 112-point season, maybe more. But the Canes are going to, probably push 108 points. Not bad for a transition year, and could end up being second best in the Eastern Conference. It's remarkable, man. Every stinking year, they do the same type of thing. All right, now to the main issue of the game. And this is why I thought it was a big game for Pyotr Kochetkov, and I talked about it with Trip Tracy in the Stormwatch, is because for 5 straight games, and I'm trying to remember if it was coming straight out. It wasn't coming straight out of the Four Nations faceoff, because remember, they started with those 2 losses, Toronto and Montreal. And Carolina has alternated goalies since the end of January. Freddie, Pyotr, Freddie, Pyotr, Freddie, Pyotr. Since the end of January, they've alternated goalies. The only time they doubled up was the last game before the Four Nations and the first game after. And Kochetkov, for 5 games prior to the last 3, was phenomenal. Phenomenal. To the point where, we were not putting the proverbial cart before the horse, but for 5 games, it looked like, oh boy, Carolina just might have found it. Meaning a goaltender not named Frederik Andersen that they could start in game one of a playoff series. And as I said earlier, and I talked about this with Tripp, why I thought it was a big game, because the game against LA, I mean, 2 of the goals, maybe 3 of the goals. I think one of the goals is terrible. And maybe 2 others are, I mean, you kind of got to give us a save there. That game was bad. And then the Nashville game after that was 3 goals on 16 shots? So Kochetkov, in his last 2 games prior to tonight, had allowed 10 goals on 41 shots. I don't want to do that math. I mean, I can. It's pretty easy. It's about, 76% save percentage. I'm pretty sure that's not good. And he gave up 3 goals in his first 12 shots tonight. I mean, it's just awful. And as I went through before, both Engvall goals are bad goals, and the Palmieri goal it's a bad rebound to allow. But then, I joked that he was like hiding from the rest of the play. Good for you to get on your near post, but when you sink in behind it, you leave 2 feet of the far side for who was it? Kyle Palmieri to shoot at. It wasn't like he was, goal line extended. I mean, it was like a 40-degree angle. He had a lot of net to shoot at, especially since Kochetkov just kind of went down and went back. I mean, it's just, I don't know how you go. This is what I said this on Twitter. I don't know how you go from being so good for those 5 games, and he was legitimately great for 5 games. I don't know how you go from being that to what we're watching now just with 1 game. And I saw on Twitter, and maybe this is the wrong place to seek out any cogent opinions, other than my own, of course. At A Gold Fan on Twitter, I joke, right? Look, everybody's angry when you allow bad goals, but they were never putting Freddie Andersen back in the game. And you can't say, I don't care about back-to-back. It's a factor. It's just a factor. And they were playing in Anaheim the next day. Unless you're coming back with Kochetkov the next day, which they weren't, then you're not bringing Andersen in. So they're not pulling Kochetkov after the first goal. So once it got to 3, Rod was just like, you know what? I am euthanizing this game, and we're going to come back with Freddie Andersen the next night and try to win. And they did. They won the next game. So that was done properly. Piotr was going to have to wear it. I actually thought he played fairly well the last 30 minutes of the game, but it was 6-0 before we had played 30 minutes. He was awful in that game. He was no good against Nashville either. 3 goals on 16 shots. Because again, Tripp and I talked about it before the game. The first goal he allowed was so bad. And I thought it led to the second goal, the breakaway, where it was an Evangelista made the great quick move. But if Kochetkov is dialed in, he doesn't bite and then fall on his face on the first move. Anyway, bottom line is Kochetkov needed a good start, didn't get it. But his teammates bailed him out. So good. Maybe just the fact that Carolina scored 6 will relax him, because it was no good from Piotr today. And I don't know what you all want about, your two goaltenders. But for those of you down on Freddie, I get it. Freddie breaks down. And I still believe that Rod Brind'Amour will handle the playoffs differently this year than last year. I haven't talked to him about it, but I think Rod realizes that Freddie can't play every game, even if there are days off in between. So right now, for the most part, I mean, obviously there's plenty of back-to-backs, but for the most part, Anderson and Kochetkov are playing every fourth day. And that is perfect. When we get to the playoffs, I think you'll see a little bit more of whichever goalie Rod feels is their better one. And right now, that's Anderson. And it's not close. But I think you'll see maybe Freddie go 2, Piotr go 1. Freddie go 2, Piotr go 1. Or maybe Rod will go 2-1-1 like a playoff series. I don't know. And I know some of you just want them to alternate. And while I'm not against that, what I'm telling you is that it's not in the head coach's DNA to do that. So, and maybe he should, but I frankly don't think he should. I think you should at least give a steadier run to the better goaltender. Now, if Kochetkov returns to the form, not quite what he was, say, a couple of weeks ago, if he returns to that, to a point where he's, 915 to 925, somewhere in that range, yeah, then feel free to alternate. But I mean, it's a moot point to even say, well, if he goes back to saving 94.9% of his shots, then he should play him. Yeah, obviously. But man, it's hard to believe he is fighting it so much. All right. Brent Burns and Dimitri Orlov. Let's handle these two things at once. I've said this before about Brent Burns, and this tonight, not a good game for Brent. He did some good things. He was part of a good penalty kill. I think he otherwise made some good plays. I don't think he was terrible on the power play. But he gave the puck away twice that they counted him for. I thought he gave a puck away right away early to Casey Cizikas, where it was a shot that did not go. An actual save, was it a save from just a Cizikas chance? I think Kochetkov actually made a decent save there. And then he allowed the bad goal a little bit later on. But it wasn't a good performance for Brent Burns. Now, where some of you harden the paint on Brent Burns, and I part company, is that I think when he hasn't been mismanaging the puck, I think he's been good. I'm positive he's been good when he's not mismanaging the puck. Of course, tonight, he gave the puck away more than the 2 times he was given credit for. And he lost Anders Lee on the backdoor tap-in that made it 4-4 early in the third. And that was just, and we've seen this from Brent from time to time this year, where he's staring at the puck and doesn't realize there's somebody behind him, or he just forgets. I don't know. But it wasn't great. That was not a great night for Brent Burns. And it wasn't a good night for Dimitri Orlov, who becomes, partly the hero by scoring the 5th goal, the goal that made it 5-4. Again, not great, but he gets the game-winning goal. And when you produce offensively, commonly, you'll get the benefit of the doubt from fans. Hey, I know he was bad in his own end, blah, blah, blah. Oh, but he scored a goal. Goals are hard to come by, so I get it. So Orlov's goal that made it 5-4 made a lot of people forget just how ungood Dimitri Orlov was tonight. Speaking of ungood, gonna need better from Andrei Svechnikov. This game 2. He was better in game 1. Game 2, could have used game 1 version of Andre tonight. Took 2 bad penalties. Well, second one wasn't an awful penalty to take. It was a penalty, but not an awful one to take. First one's a bad penalty. It was an unnecessary, I don't know if they call it cross-checking or not. So it's just an unnecessary offensive zone penalty to take, and ultimately it led to the power play goal. Now, the power play goal shouldn't have happened, but it did happen, and it was all the result of a bad power play, or rather a bad penalty by Andre. So again, we talked about Piotr's performance on that goal, not good, but again, the Hurricanes should not have been shorthanded. It was one of those, come on, Andre, you can't do that, and he does it anyway because that's what he does. So we need better from Mr. Svechnikov. I'm not going Mr. We need better from Mr. Svechnikov. We also need better from Jesperi Kotkaniemi. I'm going to give Rod Brind'Amour a little bit of credit here. He has had opportunities to, in some ways, bench is not the right word. He's been asked in press conferences about Kotkaniemi, whether it's directly or indirectly. And he hasn't thrown him under the bus. Against Nashville, Kotkaniemi wasn't very good. His line mates were good, but he wasn't. And when Rod switched in the third period to put Jankowski in between Hall and Roslovic, he was asked about it. And he goes, well, Jankowski was playing so well, he really hadn't played much. I wanted to get him some ice. Yeah, okay. He had only played like 5.5 minutes in the first 2 periods. So I get it. But you can get him ice in other ways. But Kotkaniemi had made enough, little mental mistakes, maybe a couple of physical mistakes that were caused by mental mistakes. And Rod had basically seen enough. And Jankowski took pretty much all but I think one of Kotkaniemi's shifts with Hall and Roslovic in the third period after maybe 5 or so minutes of the third. And tonight, Kotkaniemi gave the puck away 4 times. It was not good. He's got to be better. And I put this up, I don't know whether it was Twitter or Blue Sky, tried to do cut and paste for both. There was a couple of opportunities to shoot the puck in maybe not high danger scoring areas, but areas where I have a pretty good chance of getting a rebound. And Kotkaniemi chose to pass to a more difficult spot to get off a shot or to give the puck away. And what I said was, look, hadn't been a great night for you, yes, Barry, but your team needs you. And what they don't need is for you to be mismanaging the puck like this. When you have an opportunity to shoot it. I am paraphrasing my own tweet. Or Blue. It wasn't exactly verbatim, but that's basically the gist of what I meant. And they need better from Kotkaniemi. They need better from Svechnikov. They need better from Kochetkov. They need better from Orlov. And to you out there in the Twitterverse, what I'm going to guess is that you were joking. Do I have a problem with Russians? I have a problem with Russians that play poorly. That is my problem. But it isn't just Russians, it's any nationality. I have a problem with Finns who play poorly. I have a problem with Americans that play poorly. and Canadians who play poorly. I have that. That is the demographic of people that I have problems with. People, hockey players, professional hockey players who play poorly. That is my problem. Top line was great tonight. I thought Jackson Blake continues to make tons of good plays. Didn't get on the score sheet tonight. I guess he wasted it all yesterday, or rather on Friday with a goal and 2 assists. But Jarvis has 2 goals. Aho has a 3-point game. Man, they are so good together. At the beginning of the season, I thought that Jarvis was like an American Finn playing with Aho. They clearly, click in terms of knowing where the other is going to be. I'm not sure it will ever be Teuvo Teravainen, but it's pretty doggone close, and Jarvis is a better player than Teuvo Teravainen. 5 shorthanded goals now for Seth Jarvis. It was one that shouldn't have gone in, but I'm sorry. I ain't going to cry about it. I'm just pointing it out that it was bad goaltending. We would have lost our collective lunch had Pyotr Kochetkov allowed that goal. We would have lost it. So good games for the 3 guys on the top line. I thought the 4th line, until it wasn't the 4th line anymore, of Jankowski, Jost, and Robinson, I thought they were really good, especially in the first period. They create the first goal, but I thought they were noticeable all night long. And then in the 3rd period, you know what Rod Brind'Amour did? He flipped wingers. He flipped Taylor Hall and Tyson Jost. So it was actually Hall with Jankowski and Robinson. And it was Roslovic, Svechnikov, and Jost. And for my money, what that did was it put Svechnikov on a de facto 4th line. Again, we need better from Andre. So when Andre gets flipped to a different line, or when things are adjusted, it doesn't look to all of us as though Andre has been demoted. Coming back from the injury, Rod was always going to ease him in. That lasted 1 game because today's game started with Roslovic centering Svechnikov and Hall. And Hall and Roslovic have already established some chemistry. So Rod is elevating Andre to a role of importance. They're all important, but obviously you understand what I'm saying. And Andre did not cash in on that faith by the head coach. And I'm not talking about he didn't score a goal. What I'm saying is, I don't think he had that much of a positive impact in the game. It's got to be better. Has to be better. If Carolina wants to advance in the postseason, they're going to need something consistently good out of Andre. And boy, have they not gotten it. But they are getting it from Hall. They are getting it from Jankowski, albeit, I would say in a limited role, except he played, I think, 2.5 more minutes than Kotekani did. And they're getting it from Robinson. I said this before. When the Hurricanes traded for Jankowski, and he's got a year left on his contract at $800,000, it said to me that they probably weren't going to re-sign Eric Robinson. I hope they re-sign Eric Robinson. I don't think he's going to be super expensive. You know, it'll be $1.5 million, maybe $2 million. I mean, Robinson at this point is a 4th line player. He can be effective in a lot of different roles, but he's essentially a 4th line player. He's not, for me, he's not a healthy extra. I think you want him in your lineup. He's fast. He's big. Kills penalties. He's got a little bit of an offensive game to him, just like Jankowski. And boy, the play he made on the Jankowski goal, the one that opened the scoring. First, Tyson Jost makes a really good play, flicking it up the wall, getting it to where Robinson, who's coming across the ice from the other side of the rink, can get to it. And then Robinson, with the presence of mind to wait, to be patient for Jankowski to basically get to the back post. Dynamite pass, dynamite hockey IQ. Couldn't come up with less of a cliched statement there. But just good work all around, both Robinson and Jankowski. And then 13 seconds later, Logan Stankoven causing a problem behind the goal line for the Islanders. Martinook picks up the puck, makes just an absolutely scrumptious backhand pass from behind the net back to the other side. And Stankoven is right there at the near post, and Hogberg just could not seal it off. And Stankoven is right there for the goal. Carolina could have scored a couple of other times tonight on similar plays and didn't. But, man, that was such a good goal. So those guys have played very well. Anyway, when you think about where Jankowski is, what he's doing for Carolina, what they gave up to get him, it's just so impressive. And Robinson, too, just to finish that initial point where I really do hope they sign Robinson. I think there's a place for both of those guys because I also think that both of those guys could end up being healthy extras at times. And it's all right. The Hurricanes haven't really carried an extra, forward. And I can't remember how long where they had healthy scratches among the forward group. They've routinely had a healthy extra on the blue line. Scott Morrow is still here. But they absolutely, and next year they're going to have cap room. Heck, they might carry 3 healthy extra players. That's how much cap room they're going to have. Like you're talking about $35 million. They don't need that many players. They need like 6 players for $35 million. You can basically average almost $6 million a guy. They got a lot. They're flush with cash. I don't think we're going to see Burns here again next year. I don't think we're going to see Orlov. I know we're not going to see Orlov. Burns is more, 30 to 40% chance of a return. But you've got Jankowski and you've got Robinson. I'm sure they would love to see another rookie make the team in terms of a forward. Bradley Nadeau is lighting the scoreboards up in the AHL. So Hurricanes are going to have a bunch of money to spend. And I do believe that I hope they bring back Robinson because I think he is such a net positive on everything that they do. So we'll let Blake and Aho and Jarvis stick together for as long as it's going to last. It might just be a regular season thing. Rod might want some size on that line as we get to the playoffs. But I think if they continue to produce scoring chances as they did tonight, it was clearly Carolina's best line. Yet they were on the ice for a goal against, but it wasn't. Was it the fourth goal? I actually think it was the fourth goal, which was more on Burns than it was on Kochetkov. It might have been the third goal. Either way, they were on the ice for a goal. But again, I don't think it was their fault. So we've already blamed the 4 goals, the first 3 on Kochetkov, the last one on Burns for not getting Anders Lee on the back door. But they need, they're getting great play from their top line. We'll see what happens in the playoffs if that sticks around. By the way, it's a little bit of a playoff preview on Wednesday. And it's not about, it's Carolina, Washington. they would stand to meet each other in the second round. It's not about, for me, it's not about that. The playoff preview is the Hurricanes are about to see a team that is significantly bigger than they are. Doesn't mean they can't win any of these games, because they can. Did they sweep Dallas this year? I think they swept the Stars this year. Did they sweep Vegas this year? I think they swept Vegas. Both of those teams are bigger than Carolina. So, I'm not put off. I think Carolina has a chance, but dealing with size has been a problem in the past for Carolina. And I think Washington is a pretty big, physical, forecheck heavy group. And Carolina is going to have to be better than they've been, at least two of their players, better than they've been under pressure. And now I'm talking about Burns and Orlov here. And they're going to have to take a couple more of their chances and cash them in, because you're going to need them. They had some opportunities to score a few more goals tonight. Aho missed a breakaway. Aho went off the inside of the post on the power play. Real quick, I think Carolina was one out of 4 on the power play today. And I thought the 3 that they didn't score a power play goal on, and now it's power play goals in 4 straight games, I thought the 3 in which they didn't score a power play were better in terms of the way it looked than the one they did score the power play goal. Bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. All right, so let me just check and see. We have too many comments to get through all of it. Agent Shadow. Svech is a 100% 70 to 75 point lock come 3 years forward, but you want the guy to be able to get that 90 to 100 that he was projected to get someday. We're watching 2 different Andrei Svechnikovs. He is not a 70 to 75 point lock. Hell, oh, wow. And by the way, let me just stop people from thinking this right now. It ain't about Carolina not letting him do things. That was one of the dumbest conversations I've ever seen on Twitter. That Rod Brind'Amour is holding Andre back. That Andre's afraid of doing this because the head coach would be mad. No, there isn't a player in the National Hockey League who is given more freedom to be himself than Andrei Svechnikov. The only thing the head coach asks him is that he comes back and plays defense. That's it. Just like the only thing he asked Marty Necas to do. Man, just try. Just try on defense. I will give Marty credit, and I give Andre credit too. They tried. They absolutely tried. Andre's points, his goals, his assists, they're not down because he's asked to defend. They're down because Andre hasn't played well. He ain't the player that the Hurricanes, at least at this point, he ain't the player the Hurricanes wanted him to be. I'm not sure he's going to be that player. Andre doesn't want to play the physical, in-your-face game night in and night out. He certainly does at times. And when Andre gets going to the point where he looks like he's dominant, yeah, that guy can play. But, man, we haven't seen that at all this year. We have seen periods here and there where Andre is flying and you go, oh, there you go. That's the guy we love. I know, I can't even remember the last time I saw it. That doesn't mean he's all bad, but he is not this has not been a good year at all for Andre. Been out of the lineup a little bit here and there with some injuries. But they need much more from him. So we know what he's capable of. And maybe that'll return in the playoffs. We've seen all sorts of weird stuff happen. Maybe that'll return in the playoffs. But right now, Andre's playing like a bottom six winger. He didn't get a ton of opportunity tonight, played under 14 minutes. But when Andre's playing under 14 minutes, there's a reason. All right, we got to go. I've gone 10 minutes longer than I ever go. And by the way, Chris, he's also taking a ton of stupid penalties. We call that the full Andre. He's always done that. I got news for you. I can live with the bad penalties if he's doing the other things. The bad penalty tonight, which led to the Palmieri power play goal, that I can't live with because he's not doing the other things. Unless the other things equal giving the puck away. All right, we're out. We're brought to you by the Aluminum Company of North Carolina. If it is for the exterior of your home, you can find it right there at the Aluminum Company of North Carolina on Hamlin Road in Durham. No place like it. Sammy Hanna and his crew do a great job. Canes, Capitals, Wednesday. Oh, boy, is this going to be fun. We'll see everybody then right here on the Canes Corner podcast. Rate, review, subscribe, like, tell your friends. Do what you got to do. See you.